Hello, it's Tim here from Planet Corydoras. Today we're going to be doing a spotlight on CW010, one of my favourites, also known as the Gold Laser. Stay tuned! Hello and welcome to Planet Corydoras. Today we'll be taking a spotlight on one of my favourite species, CW010, also known as the Gold Laser. The reason why they're called CW010 is because they have yet to be described by science, so that is why they have been just given this number for now. In the future they will be given their own name, but commonly you'll see them in the fish shop as the Gold Laser Corydoras, and a beautiful species that they are. You'll see that they can't resist their bloodworm and will obviously be spooked quite easily, but they'll soon come back. I'd like to say throughout this video we've used lots of different videos and resources from individuals, so a big thank you to all those people who helped with this piece. Let's look at the species in a bit more close up. As you can see, what a stunning species it is too. The main contributing factor to the laser is obviously that big gold stripe which runs from just behind their base of their head all the way down their back to their tail, and this is just stunning when looked from the side or from above. You may notice some similarities to other species, and that is because the CW010 is part of the lineage 7 Corydoras group, also known as the Aeneas group, so they have very similar body shapes and sizes to anything within that group. As you can see, CW010 comes from Peru in a town called Aguatier. Here there is one main central river with lots of inlets and tributaries coming in to the main river basin. Let's take a look a bit closer. As you can see, this is a very large and shallow river, as people are quite happily and easily to wade through. The substrate consists of many pebbles smoothed by the river, but also large areas of sandbanks, which is probably the ideal area for the Corydoras to survive, but probably most of these fish will be in the small tributaries which come into the main river. When you look out on the map, you can see the level of the sandbanks, which shows how the river probably floods yearly. Now let's take a look at Aguatier's local weather conditions. As you can see, that temperatures is a nice maximum temperature of 30 degrees Celsius, but lows are around up to 14 Celsius during the winter type seasons, so there is quite a variety there, but definitely a warmer climate than perhaps we're used to within the UK and the US. Now let's take a look at the rainfall for the area. As you can see, there is a clear, dry and rainy season. The rainy season beginning around the October time frame, falling away to around March. This is obviously the ideal time for the fish to thinking about going into spawning mode and being able to get a lot of the food which is in the area at that time. Finally, let's take a look at the average air pressure within the region. As you can see, it follows closely again to the dry and rainy seasons, and where the Corydoras will normally kick into a spawning mode for breeding when the air pressure is at its lowest. So looking at this trend, it would be setting in around sort of the November time frame. Okay, here we are at the planetcorydoras.com website. I'm under the species section looking at CW010. Here you'll find lots of different attributes for the fish, as well as similar species as well for you to look at. You can tell straight away that the location, as we said earlier, is from Peru, and the lineage is from number 7, the Aeneas group, so you can look at all the other similar species. The size of this fish is around 60 millimeters. Obviously that can vary quite considerably between different fish, probably somewhere from 50 millimeters, I mean up to even to 65, 70 at max. They have of course been bred in the aquarium on many occasions. Common name wise, you'll see these in the local fish shop often as the Gold Laser Cory or the Peru Orange Stripe Cory. I see that quite a lot in the United States. Then if we look at temperature ranges, optimum is somewhere between 21 and 24 Celsius. I tend to keep them around that 23 Celsius mark myself. They will survive in higher temperatures than that. I personally have done that before in the past, but they potentially might not thrive as much as you would like, and perhaps reduce their life expectancy as well. From a pH point of view, they're looking at a mid-range from 6 to 8.0, so quite happy in quite a wide range of pH levels, not too much of a concern there. Now let's take a look at some of the variation of this species. Here you see a beautiful albino version of the gold laser. You can tell by those pink eyes, that's a bit of a giveaway, but also how that gold really comes through. Absolutely spectacular in my book. Here's another variation, gold laser with a red tint over the actual laser part. An unusual one, not often seen, but it doesn't actually have its own name. It's considered part of the gold laser family. Let's now look at the dietary requirements for the gold laser. Well, in truth, they're no real different to any other Corydoras. They do like a wide and varied diet, but that being a protein diet. So ensure that you are feeding them directly, so that they do have their own source of food, and that the guppies or anything else on the higher levels don't take all the food off them. They, as I said, are protein based, so make sure that that is the main element to the food that you are supplying. Obviously no algae wafers are required, no veg or anything like that. They might sometimes nibble on it, but it is definitely not required. I would also suggest a variety of live and frozen and freeze-dried food. So just make sure you have those on your list, and you'll have some very healthy and very full Corydoras. Let's now talk about breeding the gold laser. Here you see some excellent fit and well-fed individuals. That is the first key. Let's ensure that they're all nice and full and all the eggs are ready inside the female. Then your next step, like other Corydoras, is to introduce a cold water change. You want to do somewhere in the region of 25%, maybe all the way up to 50%, so the temperature drops by a good 2-3 degrees Celsius. Once that happens, you'll see the fish like this, swimming around very fast, riding up and down the glass, surfing it as we call. Here's another example here, the fish going up and down. That means they're feeling quite randy and are definitely in the mood for some love. Other things to take in consideration if you do the changes while there is a storm front moving in your area, that can really help trigger, because they really can sense the pressure changes, and that will maybe push them over the edge and actually get them to trigger and start spawning. Now over to another video. Again, some very happy Corydoras. They are in the process of spawning right now. You have the females hunting around where to lay the eggs. They will normally tend to lay them either on the glass directly, quite often near the flow, and it's key that they do like the flow, so make sure you have the flow nice and high. They also need to have either something like a spawning mop or some moss, as you will find some individuals will like to bury it deeper than that. For mine personally, it's nearly always in the same spot on the glass. That's where they like to go, but it will vary on the individual of the fish. Once the eggs have been laid, I would always suggest to collect them. For me personally, my gold lasers will probably eat about half the eggs, so get to them reasonably quickly, allowing the shell maybe to harden for a few hours, but then put them into their own Tupperware like I've done here. I've added some meth blue, that's why the eggs are blue in this particular shot, and that stops any fungus growing on them. Throw in a bubbler, leave it for 3 days, and they should begin to hatch. These are some juveniles at around probably a few weeks in age. You'll see at the minute they haven't truly got their gold colour, but there's lots of them. They're very well fed. You can see their pink bellies. They're doing well. And it's key, I think, all the way through their stages of going after the egg to juvenile to feed them live food. That is the big thing. They don't tend to take well to some of the man-made products. They will nibble a bit, but I always find they grow better using live food. And then hopefully you'll end up with some very strong individuals in your new group. Well, we've reached the end on our spotlight on CW010. Thank you very much for watching. I would like to say a big thank you to all those individuals who have supplied material for this footage, and I will link a lot of them down in a description. Make sure you go and check them out because there's a wealth of material out there. And I please ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It helps us greatly, and make sure you check us out at planetcorydoras.com or on our Facebook group. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.